Hello, and welcome to Guidance for a Better Life. My guest today is Chris Comfort, and he wrote a short story in one of our books, a story every one of you can relate to. He was in a long line, very crowded store, and the man behind him became very agitated. It's a really interesting ending, and I hope you stick around to see. You can all relate to this, so maybe you'll learn something how to handle a situation like that. So thanks for being here. Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
It's great to be here.
Everybody, maybe not, but I'd say everybody has been in a line and somebody was upset or agitated or anxious or whatever.
Having a bad day.
And eventually somebody gets yelled at or embarrassed or upset. So, was this a grocery store you were in?
It was a grocery store, and I believe it was a holiday, so all the lines were crowded. Even the 10 items or less line was crowded.
And this was, in your story, you said it was an express line.
Yeah, we were in the express lane, but it wasn't going, it wasn't express lane that day.
It was not an express lane. It was really...
It was going pretty slow.
So it's like a holiday when everybody's trying to get something. Okay. So you're in line, and somebody came up behind you.
Right. I was last in line, of course, when I got there, and a gentleman came in, and you could just feel by his demeanor when he came in, he was having probably a pretty bad day.
Which we all can.
We've all been there. We've all had those days.
Yeah, we're not judging him, but
No.
We've probably been that guy sometimes.
Exactly.
But not this time.
And you could just feel his energy. He just exuded a certain energy. It was very palpable. And everybody in line, you could just feel stiffen up and get a little bit uncomfortable.
Were people talking to him, or are they just trying to pretend it wasn't
They were pretty
happening?
much trying to pretend that they or he were somewhere else at that point.
Okay. Can you give the audience an idea of some of the things besides the energy and his demeanor? He was doing some other things. What was that?
I think he had a set of keys, and he was sort of tapping them in an agitated manner against the counter there, and he kept doing that repeatedly.
Yeah.
You could tell something was stirring up in him.
Okay. So what was your thoughts? You could just ignore it like everybody else and just get out and hopefully be done. In your story, it seemed like you were concerned for the cashier.
Yeah.
You said you worked in retail.
Many years ago, I worked as a cashier, and I realized how, after seeing so many people throughout the day, how one person...
Just takes one.
It just takes one, and it could be very positive or negative. They could just just stick with you really for the rest of the day.
And this appeared to be...
Probably going in a not so good day.
The cashier's tired. Just the last thing that person needs is to have somebody that's really upset.
Exactly, and vent on them for something that they had nothing to do with.
So you're in line. You explained the situation. What did you choose to do? What was your choice to make this work out? It's actually a happy ending here.
Well, something that you had taught me many years ago was that we all send out ripples in life. We don't have a choice for that.
Yeah, we have free will from God, but not unlimited free will. And I think, how did I say it in class? You've been coming up to the school for years.
Sure. You basically said we don't have a choice whether we are going to send out ripples most times. But we do have a choice on what kind of ripples that we're going to send out.
He was sending out more negative.
Exactly.
And you could choose to engage in that and send out negative also, or you could use your free will to send out something different.
Exactly. I could make a conscious choice to either become entangled in his mood and allow that to affect me, or I could choose to kind of stay above the fray.
So you wanted to stay up above the stress and strain.
Exactly.
How did you raise up and get a higher view and keep your heart open and not get angry and all worked up? How did you raise up to kind of stay above the fray?
Well, as I was in line, I sang Hugh silently, a love song to God, and that helped in that moment, helped ground me, and I really felt God's love at that point.
Did you try to keep your heart open, or was it genuinely open?
It wasn't something I had to try at that point. Just by singing Hugh, that helped me keep
It really
my heart
did.
open.
You were genuinely
I was
relaxed
calm.
and kind of
I was
calm.
relaxed. I felt God's love at that moment.
Okay. Because there's a difference between really being relaxed and trying to be relaxed.
Exactly.
Even gently. And do you credit that to singing Hugh?
I think the fact that I sing Hugh on a regular basis, that for me is a great way to stay calm and relaxed and not get sucked into as many things as I might normally.
When you say sucked in, I guess you didn't want to contribute to his anger, and you also didn't want to get pulled in where you were starting to feel grumpy.
Exactly. I didn't want to take what he had and bring that home to my family or to whoever I encountered that day.
All right, so you're saying Hugh. In many of our shows, my guests share Hugh. It's a love song to God. I sing it every day to express my gratitude. And we have we have a site down below we can hook you up to if you're not familiar with the Hugh. So everything's good. Is that the end of the story?
That is not the end of the story.
That's not the
There's
end of the
more.
Story. And this is where it sounds like you believe God also, the Holy Spirit, the hand of God, also got involved.
Absolutely.
All right, how did that go?
As we got nearer to the cash register, maybe only a couple people left, I had a nudge from Spirit to actually turn and speak to the man, as there's only a few more moments that I would have a choice to do so.
Now, before we go on, you felt the divine was suggesting that.
I felt a nudge in my heart, a gentle suggestion to turn and speak to the man.
All right, so what did you do?
So I took a deep breath, and I trust Spirit, so I knew it would work out fine however it worked. And I turned and just spoke to the man.
What did you say? I think you said the obvious.
The first thing that came to mind was, not very fast today, are they? And
how do you respond?
Surprisingly, he engaged me, and he said, yeah, they're never fast. It sort of gave him an opportunity to vent a little bit, and he agreed with me.
It seemed like in the story, though, and from what you shared, he almost like he decompressed a bit.
Yeah, as we talked further, just kind of talking about the line and his frustration at that point, just a funny thing happened. We both sort of just laughed, and it just sort of all that stress and tension that I'd been feeling the entire time that he'd been behind me in line just sort of released. It was like Spirit sort of turned the release valve.
Do you feel Spirit used you? You used your free will. You sang Hugh, which somebody else could do a different prayer, to stay above the fray and not get entangled. Not to contribute to his problems, but not to get sucked into them. Do you feel the divine used you to try to also bless him and help him relax a little bit?
I do. I believe that because I didn't get entangled in his mood, I was able to hear. I was quiet and peaceful inside, and I think that I was able to hear Spirit suggest that.
Now, in the interview, I had no idea to go in this direction, but you made an interesting point. Are you saying because you were more relaxed and peaceful, you could hear the nudges of Spirit better?
Yeah, even though it might have been a little stressful in the environment around me in the store, I was peaceful inside, and I think that's why I was able to hear that nudge. I think if I had allowed him to affect me a little bit more, that I don't think I would have been able to hear.
And you couldn't be used to do something maybe good for the divine.
I don't think the Spirit would have worked.
So what was the last, you had several conversations in the book. And your story, by the way, Chris's stories and Testimonies of God's Love, book 3, and it's chapter 25. There's more in here, more detail, but you had a kind of a continuing conversation. What was the last thing you said, or how did you leave it when you were done?
As I gathered my bags to leave, I sort of held back a little because I wanted to hear what he said, and the person at the cashier asked him how he was doing, and in a kind of a calm.
I'm really curious what he said.
He didn't yell. He didn't seem frustrated in that short amount of time that we had talked. He said, "I'm doing okay, thanks," and he had a smile on his face.
Wow,
which was a huge change in just a few short minutes from when he came in there.
Wow, beautiful. So between you using your free will in a positive way, singing Hugh, a prayer, and somebody else might do it in another way, and then you were open because you're relaxed to let the divine maybe help him out because the divine loves him.
Exactly.
We've all been going through. We've all been in his shoes. It sounds like the divine used you. Is this what you're saying? The divine used you to kind of help him relax a little bit.
I believe so.
It sounds like the divine used you to give him a little gift of love.
I believe that having an open heart, I even believe he responded not so much by my words, which were pretty obvious, but I think he felt the love in my heart in spirit there, and that he was
Okay.
must have been receptive to it at some level.
Well, you weren't speaking in anger when you talked to him. You're speaking
That's
in a good way.
exactly. I was calm.
Now, somebody might wonder, I know the answer to this, so it's rhetorical because I know you and we've known each other for many years, and we both know the Hugh, love song to God. But some might feel you sang the Hugh, a love song, to calm him down. Is that what you were trying to do?
That isn't the point at all. In fact, if I had done that, I don't think it would have worked out as well for a number of levels. One, I don't believe spirit would ever violate anyone's free will. And if he wanted to just maintain that mood,
That was his choice.
I think that was his choice.
So you sang Hugh to keep you above the fray, not to influence him.
It was to be the cause and not the effect of
Okay.
that situation.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Because everybody out there, I think, if you haven't, you're going to get a chance to be involved, and you might even be the one that's grumpy. So if somebody says, "Hi, how you doing?" maybe this will help. Is there anything else you'd like to share? This is a very common thing, but you turned it from a common thing that could have been frustrating and left some bad energy with a checkout person and people in the line. You turned it into something actually pretty nice where everybody relaxed. The cashier didn't have an uncomfortable
Exactly.
situation. And when he left, maybe he was driving a little more rationally, maybe a little more relaxed driving home. He went home, maybe the dog didn't get yelled at, and if he had a family. So it turned to a very positive situation. I think it's so cool you were used by Spirit, it sounds, to turn something positive for that other child of
It was a
God.
blessing for me.
So is there anything else you'd like to share?
There is. I think it's so amazing that God loves us so much and wants us to be free of entanglements of just everyday frustrations and things. And I wouldn't have necessarily seen his heart, that he kind of was looking to just maybe vent and get something off his chest, cast his cares. But Spirit knew. And by remaining open to Spirit, all I had to do was listen and stay calm and follow that nudge. And I believe the outcome worked a lot better than
It seems like it
would
was
have.
good for everybody.
I think so.
When you say open, again, we've talked about this, but are you saying you stayed open by staying peaceful and your heart open?
By staying calm and relaxed.
And you could hear the nudges better.
Exactly.
If you had gotten all worked up, do you think you probably wouldn't have been a co-worker with the Holy Spirit because you probably wouldn't have heard him?
I don't think I would have heard it. I think, in my experience, Spirit speaks in a still, quiet voice within.
Okay.
And when you get anxious or agitated or very emotional, I tend to
You don't
not
hear so well.
hear
You don't hear anybody.
No.
You don't hear loved ones or God
Exactly.
or anybody talking. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
And I hope this show blessed you today. I think we all can relate to experiences similar to this. Who knows the ripple effects when he went driving? Maybe he didn't have road rage. Maybe he came home and his family life was a little more balanced. That's not for us to judge, but if you're ever in a situation like this, perhaps today's show and the Hugh or some other prayer might help you stay above the fray for yourself and maybe be used by the Holy Spirit to bless somebody. So thank you, and I hope this show bless you today. Thanks for watching.